Welcome, my friend. The storm rages outside, but here, in the quiet of this story, I invite you to find peace. Let the sound of the rain and the distant thunder guide you as you drift into a place of calm. This story is my gift to you, a gentle companion for a night of restful sleep. Relax, let go of the day, and let the story carry you into dreams. Episode 1, The Haunting Reflection. The rain had picked up again, the windshield wipers struggling to keep up with the downpour as I drove through the night. The truck's engine hummed steadily, but there was something about the emptiness of the road that made my skin crawl. The hours dragged on, the darkness stretching endlessly before me. I wasn't exactly tired yet, but the solitude of the road, the same stretch of highway that felt like it never ended, had a way of getting into your head. I reached for my coffee, hoping it would help keep me awake, but as I took a sip, I saw something in the rearview mirror that made my stomach twist. A figure. Standing in the middle of the road, I slammed my foot on the brake, but by the time the truck started slowing down, the figure was gone. I blinked, my mind racing, trying to figure out what I'd seen. Maybe it was just a trick of the light, or the reflection of the trees in the mirror. I had been on the road for hours. My brain was playing tricks on me. But the unease lingered. I took another deep breath and shook my head. "You're just tired," I muttered to myself. "Just a little tired. No big deal." I glanced in the rearview mirror again, my eyes scanning the empty road behind me. There was nothing there, but then I saw it. The reflection of my face. Except it wasn't just my face. Something was off. My reflection was moving differently, like it was alive. It smiled at me. Smiled. I snapped my eyes forward, heart racing in my chest. I was wide awake now, adrenaline pumping through my veins. There was no way that just happened. I glanced in the mirror again, trying to reassure myself. But this time I saw it clearer. My reflection was still there, but it wasn't just there. It was staring back at me, its smile growing wider, more twisted. I turned the wheel sharply, almost losing control of the truck, my hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. My reflection in the mirror was laughing, its eyes glowing with something dark, something wrong. "Focus," I told myself. "You're hallucinating. Get it together." But the laughter didn't stop, and when I looked in the mirror once more, the reflection wasn't mine anymore. It was someone else's. A face I didn't recognize. A face full of malice and darkness, staring at me through the mirror with eyes that seemed to see straight into my soul. I slammed my foot on the gas, the truck lurching forward as I tried to shake off the image, but it stuck with me. The road stretched on ahead, but now I wasn't alone. Now, I had something in the mirror that wouldn't let me forget. I could feel the sweat starting to bead on my forehead as I gripped the steering wheel tighter. The truck's engine roaring louder than it had ever sounded. The reflection, it was still there. I could see it out of the corner of my eye even when I glanced away from the rearview mirror. The distorted, sinister face that wasn't mine, was it real? Was I just imagining it? The tension in my chest was building, my thoughts racing in all directions, but I couldn't escape it. I couldn't escape him. I glanced in the rearview mirror again, half expecting to see the face still there. But no, it was just me. My reflection was back to normal, as calm as could be. "See? Just tired," I muttered under my breath, trying to convince myself that it was nothing more than fatigue playing tricks on my mind. But the more I thought about it, the more it felt real. Thud. I slammed on the brakes, the truck skidding across the slick road. My heart leaped into my throat. My eyes darted across the highway. There was nothing there, just rain, and the sound of the storm. I exhaled, my hands still trembling as I slowly released the brake. My mind was playing tricks. It had to be. There was no other explanation. There couldn't be. I glanced into the side mirror just to check, and that's when I saw it. It wasn't a face. It was a figure, dark and shadowed, walking along the side of the road. I jerked my head back to the front windshield. Nothing. No sign of anyone. What the hell? I accelerated, the wind lashing against the truck like a whip, the storm pressing harder against me. I could feel the tension creeping into my muscles, the unease gnawing at my stomach. The figure. Was it real? Or was I just losing my mind? The headlights illuminated the road ahead as I sped up, but the figure kept appearing in the side mirror. Each time I checked, it was closer. It wasn't walking, it was moving toward me. Who was it? I couldn't risk it. The truck was speeding now, the engine howling in protest. I didn't know if I could outrun whatever this was, but I had to try. I turned the wheel, my heart racing faster than the truck could drive. The figure didn't stop. It kept following me. Step by slow, deliberate step, like it knew something I didn't. I looked at the dashboard, my fingers digging into the leather of the steering wheel, the only thing that felt real right now. The road kept stretching out ahead, but I couldn't shake the feeling. My reflection was still there. That thing, the one that wasn't me, was still smiling at me. It was still in the mirror. I slammed my eyes shut for a moment, trying to clear the image from my mind, but the laughter, it was still there. It had followed me. It was inside the truck now, and I couldn't stop. I couldn't get away. The rain seemed louder now, and the storm, it seemed to grow angrier. I couldn't do this anymore. I had to get out. I looked in the mirror one last time, and the reflection wasn't just me. It was the figure. The same eyes, the same grin. It was standing behind me. I couldn't breathe. The air in the cab had grown thick, suffocating, and I could feel the weight of the figure's presence behind me in the truck with me. I forced my eyes to stay on the road ahead, but my heart was pounding in my chest, my hands slick with sweat as they gripped the steering wheel. The headlights barely cut through the downpour now. The storm had intensified. A deep rumble of thunder shaking the truck as if the sky itself were in agony. I stole a glance at the rearview mirror again, my fingers trembling. It was there, not just a reflection anymore. The figure, the thing, was standing in the back seat now, its black eyes fixed on me, a grin stretching wider than a human face should. The features were shadowed, distorted, but I could feel its gaze burning into me. I couldn't look away. My breath caught in my throat as the reflection of my own face was slowly replaced by that thing, a dark presence that seemed to take over the entire mirror. I jerked the wheel, my hands shaking uncontrollably, trying to fight the urge to pull over, to stop. But that's when the truck seemed to slow of its own accord. The engine sputtered once, twice, and then nothing. The roar of the engine died down as I realized the truck wasn't moving anymore. It had stopped. I cursed under my breath, panic rising. The storm continued to rage outside, but inside the truck it was quiet. The figure in the mirror didn't move. It stayed frozen, still watching, smiling. And then it spoke. "You think you can leave? You think you can escape what's coming?" My body went cold. The voice wasn't just a whisper in my ear, it was coming from inside the truck, echoing in the hollow silence around me. I turned sharply, but no one was there. I was alone, or at least I thought I was. The air seemed to close in around me, pressing down, suffocating me. I could feel something, someone in the cab with me, but every time I turned there was no one there, just the stillness. The figure in the mirror grinned even wider. "You can't run, you can't hide. I'm already here." I slammed my foot on the gas pedal, and the truck jolted forward, the engine roaring back to life. The road ahead blurred, the lights casting shadows that danced on the wet asphalt. The figure was still there, but now it was closer, its face moving toward the mirror, its grin stretching impossibly wide. "Stop. Just stop. Get out of the truck." My mind screamed at me, but I couldn't. I had to keep going. I had to outrun it. But the more I drove, the more alive the reflection became. It wasn't just in the mirror now. It was everywhere. In the corners of my eyes. In the shadows of the road. The presence of it was crawling into my brain, twisting everything around me. The truck started to shudder. The tires screeched against the wet road, the vehicle rattling like it was falling apart at the seams. I gripped the steering wheel harder, trying to steady myself, but the road kept turning, twisting in ways it shouldn't. The fog had rolled in thick now, and the road stretched out endlessly in front of me. And then, just when I thought I couldn't take it anymore, the figure's voice spoke again, this time clear as day. "Look behind you." I didn't want to. I knew I shouldn't, but my neck moved of its own accord. My eyes met the rearview mirror, and I saw it. The reflection wasn't just in the mirror now, it was in the back seat. The figure was there, sitting in the passenger seat, its eyes locked onto mine. Its smile was too wide for a human face. "You can't escape," it whispered again, its voice low, dragging the words out. "You've been mine from the moment you entered this town." I couldn't breathe. My chest tightened. and the world around me seemed to spin. The storm outside was a blur, the road ahead a winding path into darkness, but the figure, it was everywhere. Its presence suffocating, pressing in from all sides. It was inside me now, inside my head, its words echoing, repeating, pushing deeper, like a nightmare I couldn't escape. The truck swerved violently as I fought for control, my heart hammering in my chest. The figure in the passenger seat, its smile was so wide, so grotesque, that I could barely focus on the road. The truck's wheels screeched against the wet asphalt as I desperately tried to steer. But the road twisted and turned in unnatural ways. It wasn't just the storm anymore. It wasn't just the reflection. The figure was pulling at me, dragging me deeper into this nightmare. I couldn't outrun it. The figure's presence was suffocating. Its dark eyes never left mine. Its grin unrelenting, spreading wider with every passing second. "You can't escape," it whispered again. Its voice a cold hiss that wrapped itself around my thoughts, pushing deeper into my mind. "You never could. This road, this town, it's all part of you now." I slammed my foot on the brake, but the truck didn't stop. It kept moving, faster now, as if someone else was controlling it. The figure in the passenger seat didn't move. It just watched, smiling. "Let go," it said. And this time its voice wasn't a whisper. It was a command. "Let go and you'll finally be free." I shook my head, my hands trembling on the wheel. "No, I won't give in." The truck lurched forward, faster than I could control, and I had to fight to keep it from spinning out of control. My mind was racing. This wasn't real. This wasn't real. But the figure was still there, sitting beside me, its cold, unblinking gaze fixed on me. "Do you think you can fight me?" it hissed. "You've always been part of me. You've always been here." My pulse was pounding in my ears, my breaths coming in shallow gasps as I tried to make sense of what was happening. The storm outside had intensified, the wind howling, the rain coming down in torrents. But it didn't matter. The thing in the truck was real. It was real, and I could feel it getting closer, pulling me in, taking over everything I had fought to escape. "No," I whispered to myself. "I can't. I won't let it win." But the truck wasn't stopping. The road wasn't ending. The figure beside me didn't move, its eyes growing darker, deeper. And then in that moment I understood. I wasn't driving anymore. I wasn't fighting anymore. I was lost. I had been lost the moment I entered this town. The figure, it wasn't just a reflection. It wasn't just in the mirror. It was inside me. It was the shadow of every regret, every fear, every part of me I had buried. And it was finally coming to claim me. The truck veered off the road, crashing through the guardrail, the world spinning as the ground below disappeared. I tried to scream, but the words stuck in my throat, choking me, as I felt myself falling. The darkness swallowed everything, and in the last moment before everything went black, the figure's smile widened. "You were always meant to be mine," it said. The darkness consumed everything. There was no sound, no wind, no rain, no storm, only silence. The world had slipped away, and I was falling through nothingness. For what felt like an eternity, I was weightless, drifting through an endless void. My body didn't feel real anymore, just a sensation of being. No ground beneath my feet, no sky above me, just the deep, unrelenting blackness, like I had been swallowed whole by the earth itself. But then, a light, a flicker, so faint at first that I thought I was imagining it. But it grew brighter, the light expanding until I could make out the faint outline of the truck. I could see myself, my body, still seated in the driver's seat, motionless. The figure was beside me again, its dark eyes locked onto mine, its smile still wide, still stretched beyond what should be possible. I reached out, my hand shaking as I tried to touch the window, but it wasn't real. Nothing was real. The truck was frozen in time, the world around me still and silent, except for the figure beside me. "You're here now," it said softly, its voice a whisper that seemed to echo in the void. "You'll never leave." I tried to speak, but my mouth wouldn't move. My body wouldn't respond. I was trapped inside this nightmare, inside my own mind, surrounded by the thing I had feared most. "You don't need to fight anymore," it continued, its voice soothing now, almost comforting. "You were always meant to stay. We're all part of this, forever." The figure leaned closer, its smile widening impossibly, its eyes piercing into me. And that's when I understood. This wasn't a nightmare. This wasn't some haunted truck. It was me. I had been running from myself, from the fears I had buried deep inside. And now I was caught, trapped, in this endless cycle of regret, of loss, of guilt. I had tried to escape, tried to drive away, but no matter how far I went, the figure was always there, waiting, because it was me. I had never truly faced myself, never accepted the darkness that had followed me, and now, it had me, forever. The truck, the figure, the storm, they were all parts of me. I was lost in this world, a part of it now, just like everyone else who had come before me. And as I sat there, trapped in the cold stillness, I realized one thing. I wasn't running anymore. Sometimes the hardest journey is facing the parts of ourselves we try to hide. Only then can we truly move forward.